the weird sped up voice. But thanks, Rob, and welcome to Sox Machine Live, everyone. I am Josh Nelson alongside Jim Margulis, and it is July 22nd, 2021, as we are streaming this episode live on our YouTube page at youtube.com/SoxMachine, and for those that are also watching on SoxMachine.com. And we're also streaming this on Twitch, which you could watch my Twitch stream at Sox Machine Josh. I don't do much with it other than Sox Machine Live at the moment. And then a Periscope for those that are watching on Twitter, that follow us on Twitter at Sox Machine and at SoxMachine_Josh. Thank you for tuning in. And for those that are listening to the podcast feed, as always, we love you guys too. Thank you so much for listening to the audio version of this episode of Sox Machine Live. And for this episode, there's quite a bit that we're going to be discussing. Yes, we will talk about Yermin Mercedes, but this weekend series for the Chicago White Sox is where most of the attention should be when talking about the White Sox, because this is going to be a marquee series in all of Major League Baseball, going to Milwaukee and facing the Milwaukee Brewers. The Milwaukee Brewers are first place in the National League Central, and man, these pitching probables are awesome. You got Freddie Peralta against Lucas Giolito on Friday. You got Corbin Burns against Carlos Rodon on Saturday. And then you got Brandon Woodruff against Lance Lynn on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. And the best part is A-Rod's not broadcasting the game. So there's a lot to be excited about for this upcoming weekend. And oh, by the way, we are also hosting a tailgate in Milwaukee, which we'll share those details later in this episode. So a lot of exciting things to talk about. But we're going to start with this episode with some breaking news from ESPN's Jeff Passan, and was confirmed by our old friend Dan Hayes, who is the Minnesota Twins beat writer for The Athletic. One of the big dominoes as far as this trade market, Nelson Cruz has been traded from the Minnesota Twins to the Tampa Bay Rays. And Jim, there's a part of me that when I saw this trade, I just said to myself, damn it. Like, why couldn't it be any other team? Why does it have to be the Rays? Because the White Sox still have to play the Rays in Tampa in mid-August. And the way that this postseason could possibly shake out, it wouldn't surprise me if it's the White Sox and Rays in the divisional series. What are your thoughts about the trade as far as Tampa Bay acquiring Nelson Cruz?
It really makes no difference. I wish it made more of a difference. I wish the White Sox and the Twins had a backloaded schedule to where they'd play each other like 9 times over August and September, and thus you'd really feel the relief. But like you said, they play the Rays 3 times. They only have 3 games left with the Twins, so it feels more or less anticlimactic. And you know, like you said, Tampa will be in the postseason picture. Whether they cross paths with the White Sox remains to be seen, but he's still going to be looming, and that's not fun. I mean, I don't fear him the way that, just because he is beatable, like as we saw with Lucas Giolito striking him out 3 times. You can beat him up in the zone. You just have to execute. Executing is easier said than done, but he has basically 1 swing, maybe 2 swings sometimes. He can inside out it sometimes. But basically the bat path follows the same kind of uppercut plane. So if you can get on top of that, you can beat him. So he doesn't strike the fear of God in me, but I think he's a great fit for that Rays team. He helps with their bat to ball abilities, because right now that's really their only weakness offensively, is that they don't strike out. And he doesn't really strike out all that much for as much power as he provides. So he provides some balance there. The Twins seem to do okay when it comes to how well the pitchers are regarded. I'm blanking on their names right now, but I'm struck by, or I'm not exactly sure what the Twins pitching apparatus is, the quality of it, their ability to finish prospects. So seeing 2 pitchers comes back. I think the Twins I think the value is fine. It's more a matter of just whether the Twins can prove that they can develop pitchers and finish pitchers in a way that actually hurts the Sox. So I think net positive for the Sox, just, getting Cruz out of the division and having the Twins have to reconsider exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, I think one of the pitchers that the Minnesota Twins got in return from Tampa Bay is Joe Ryan. And reading his scouting report, electric fastball, there might not be a second offering. So there is extreme reliever risk, even though both pitchers that they required It looks like there's some promising arsenal that they both have, but there seems to be this recurring theme in the scouting reports that they're probably more relievers than starting pitchers. And the Twins will take it, right? Because we have seen their bullpen in action in the past week series between the White Sox and Twins. The Minnesota Twins could use better arms in their bullpen.
Yeah. There was a story in The Athletic about Wes Johnson, I think before the season, talking about the Twins bullpen. I believe Aaron Gleeman wrote it, and Johnson just providing a pitcher by pitcher breakdown of what that pitcher was doing wrong or how he can improve. And it made it sound so simple. Like Alex Colomé was one of them. And then you see the season that Colomé has, and that's what makes me think like, maybe Johnson is, just an ordinary pitching coach. He's not, I mean, they made a huge jump with him the first year in the organization, but that's partially because they were going away from Rick Anderson, going away from the Ron Gardenhire era, and how outdated that they were, to where just they were basically suppressing the talent on their own staff. So I think Johnson's administration did a good job of writing pitchers who might have been held back by exactly what Rick Anderson was teaching. But I think now that Johnson's his own, I almost called him Wes Anderson. Wes Johnson is his own guy, and he has his own talent that he's bringing in. Now I think it's a whole different step for the Twins, and the standards he's trying to establish, enforce for his pitchers, maybe not quite there yet.
Well, maybe Wes Johnson and Wes Anderson have the same style.
Yeah, and the same aesthetic.
Do you think that this trade, because as we speak, Tampa Bay is a game behind the Boston Red Sox in the American League East, adding Nelson Cruz, do you think that this is enough offensive firepower now for Tampa Bay to overtake Boston in the American League East?
Maybe, but Boston's getting Chris Sale back, and that's the kind of case where they have their own upgrade. And even if Sale isn't, Chris Sale, the Condor Cy Young finalist at the height of his powers, they still have room to improve in that Boston rotation. Like, Boston has strengths, but the rotation is not one of them. So perhaps, there'll be some head-to-head battles between the two of them. But it really seemed like the Rays were the only sensible destination for Cruz. Like, the National League teams showing interest, worth kicking the tires, like the time that the Dodgers acquired Jim Thome. Like, if nobody else is going to acquire him, like, we may as well type, situation where if the Rays solve the DH position somewhere else, then maybe some National League team says, well, we can use that bat in the American League parks and throw him at first base or whatever. But it really made sense, the Rays all the way. So I was more or less expecting it and bracing for it.
Still sucks. National League teams, You guys are cowards. Cowards. Not trading for Nelson Cruz.
Ride the snake.
All right. So this next topic, in a month, we may say is the dumbest thing we've talked about during the 2021 season, and it is Yermer Mercedes. And I say dumb because in the last 24 hours, it's been very dramatic surrounding Yermer Mercedes. He's playing the game in Durham with the Charlotte Knights. He gets pulled in the 6th inning. He posts on Instagram that he's tired and he's stepping away from the game of baseball. And that sets off shockwaves, especially on social media. The only thing I tweeted was, I'm very confused by the announcement. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. If it's something
that was the way to go.
Health. Yeah, well, if it was something with mental health, it's just like, I don't know on how to approach this. I'm hoping that he can elaborate further. The White Sox seem to be caught off guard. Manager Tony La Russa was caught off guard, said that he would reach out to Yermer Mercedes. And then today he posts another Instagram, and it's the image of a phoenix rising from the ashes. And that he's not going to quit after playing 10 years of professional baseball, continuing to chase his dream. And you do have his uncle tweeted and provided, I think, some key insight, is that Yerman is just frustrated about his situation right now, that he is in AAA and he didn't get a fair shot as far as catching in the major league level to prove if he is better defensively than Zach Collins and Sebi Zavala. And I can understand that. There's a lot of guys in AAA who are pretty frustrated right now that they're playing at that level. When watching Eloy Jimenez against the Gwinnett Stripers, Gwinnett's got Yomer Sanchez and Jason Kipnis on their team. I'm sure those two guys aren't thrilled playing in AAA baseball. So it happens. And plenty of guys in the minor leagues get fed up with it and they decide to leave. Here's my take on the thing. I'll let you go, Jim, as far as to elaborate.
You're firing
This
me?
is very melodramatic. No, I'm not firing you. It's all very melodramatic. And if this is the way that he's going to react as far as to his situation, he's not the only White Sox prospect. I mean, Gavin Sheets and Jake Berger are going to get some bad news soon. They're going to be returning to Charlotte when Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert are healthy and ready to rejoin the team. And they're probably not making a postseason roster. If this is the way that Yomer Mercedes is going to act right now as far as his situation, I think it's best for all parties involved that the Chicago White Sox find him a new team by July 30th. And we talked about trying to trade Yomer Mercedes in a package for Starling Marte to Miami. And we knew that package had no chance in hell. But I do think it's just best for both parties. Because if he's frustrated with his situation right now, the White Sox don't need this, especially they have so much that they have to handle in the major league level that they don't need the manager at the major league level to call a player down in AAA, to calm them down and prevent them from retiring. I say if this is how Yomer Mercedes feels, cool. Find him a new team by July 30th. And if you can't, let him go. And let him be a free agent and let him find himself a new team where he has a better chance of making a major league roster. Because if it's a bad fit for all parties, then there's no reason to continue the relationship. So that's how I feel, and I'll let you have the floor on this topic.
Well, there is a comparable situation with the Cubs in 2016 with Tommy La Stella doing something similar where he got optioned down or sent down to AAA. Maybe a controversial move in terms of like he was still a quality major league player, is a quality major league player, although he's hurt this year, but just he's shown since then that he can hang in the majors. And he was frustrated by being sent down, briefly retired, or didn't report immediately to AAA, kind of pouted about
That's the situation. Because I was trying to remember, like, what was the time of the Stella situation? But he didn't show up to AAA.
Yeah, and briefly talked about retiring, then like basically talked himself back into it, factored into the Cubs roster later on, was on the postseason roster, but not, I think Kyle Schwarber took his spot for the World Series, but they had, at least surfaced during October, and then he's since proved himself as like better than that, and just, smooth it all out. Like he stuck with it. He didn't have a similar instance. And so he was allowed that one episode of just, battling his feelings in public and having a little bit of a pity party, but, ultimately he endured. And I think Mercedes, kind of doing the same thing right now. I think he's a more extreme story just because of everything he's been through. And he probably thought like rookie of the month in April. Like it's like the Frank Sinatra song, That's Life, riding high in April, shot down in May. And that's basically what he's been living the whole time. Like, and then, early June gets sent down to AAA. And for somebody who probably thought he made it, had a burger named after him that you tried, just, he was on the All-Star Game marketing, which some of those posters still made to Denver. He was still seen on some of the publicity materials there. So it's been a weird year for him. So I get that. And that's why I'm not completely, just done with him and can allow it. I think the couple things is one, that he has a little bit of a reputation that precedes him. I think he did leave his winter ball team just kind of randomly. So he does have a track record of, with the White Sox not showing up on time before then, leaving a team. And then, you had the unsaid allegations of indiscretions with previous organizations that let him go, which we don't exactly know, but maybe you can piece together just overall lack of discipline thing where you're just not the most reliable person. So there's that. And then, he also prefaced it with Instagram a little bit, kind of foreshadowed before the game. And it kind of, that seems like, it wasn't just a one, post-game height of my frustration freak out. It seemed like a little bit more calculated than that, or had a little bit more time, a little bit more of a runway before takeoff. So that's what makes me think like, okay, it's he had some time for somebody to step in and say like, you sure you want to do this? Rather than, being the kind of passive aggressive, kind of like we know people on Facebook who do that. Just these lengthy diatribes that they don't really specify anything. They're supposed to elicit pity or what's wrong and concern, but they don't actually come out and say it is, and you actually get the help he needs, or he's not proactive in terms of here's my problem, how do we solve it. The one thing I will say about the maybe where I can understand him is with the whole idea of him being a catcher. And did they say he could be a catcher? And was he in the catching plans? Because he never really factored in during the spring. And then he goes down to Charlotte. He has 9 games there, but that's because they kind of need him behind the plate. He's got 7 pass balls in 9 games. So, perhaps that proves that he's not a catcher. Perhaps there's some rust and the White Sox didn't let him work at it. We know from Tony La Russa's public comments that he doesn't dismiss anybody's talent. Like, he talks of everybody's talent. So if he's saying the same thing to Mercedes' face that he was saying publicly, that Mercedes can catch, he has multiple position that he can cover, that he can contribute around the diamond at the major league level, and he tells him that and then doesn't give him the chance. I can see that being a bit, I guess yanked around and wanting some clarity on a situation. So I think I'm a bit more forgiving than you, but I think there's also the case where, he does have a bit of a reputation of just wanting things done his way. And if it doesn't happen, he doesn't quite understand that he hasn't quite made it. And when you have a team that has World Series aspirations, is on track to plan for October, I think, he does have to, I guess, understand his, how his actions may be taken, or at least have somebody who can say like, hey, you might not want to do this. You might still have a chance. So it's tricky. And, I don't want to say too much in terms of what he's dealing with, because it could be like, I wrote about this on Sox Machine saying like, you don't want to rush to say like, well, maybe he's dealing with mental health issues. Maybe he doesn't have support because, he just might be being a little bit of a dick right now. Like, there's a case that just, people have moments where that they're just less than themselves because they want to be, and they get past it and it's fine. But there's also a case where, he could have been fed something by White Sox management that didn't line up with his experience. So it's, we just don't know much now that he's back from, saying he was retired. I think that just shows how unpredictable it is right now, and all the hot takes about Tony La Russa ruining his career might have been premature. And so I think that basically tells us from here to see, like, let's see how the next week goes, and then maybe the series after that, and then see like what the White Sox do at the deadline, and then see what the path is from there.
This is fun. Thank you. Stand by for technical difficulties. That message couldn't even get out. I just no idea what happened. You know what it is? StreamYard's like, we're sick and tired of talking about you and Mercedes as well. So they just cut us off. No, the last I heard was that you were talking about you being more forgiving about Yummer's situation than I am a bit curious to see what's going to happen in the next week. Yeah, I could see the possibility the White Sox holding on to Yummer Mercedes, more depth. We still don't have an exact timeline when Yasmani Grandal is going to be rejoining the Chicago White Sox. We think it's going to be sometime in August. He's already jogging with the team during the White Sox Twin Series at Guarantee Ray Field. So he could be coming back sooner than later. And when that does happen, Seby Zavala will drop down. But as far as Yummer Mercedes being a catcher, and maybe if that's adding to his frustration, Jim, Zach Collins is terrible defensively. Mm-hmm. There's no other way for me to describe his defensive ability behind home plate. And it blows my mind because the White Sox starting pitching is the best in Major League Baseball right now. You are the one calling the pitches. And my Lord, I don't know if there is some lost in translation what he is calling for and what the White Sox pitchers are throwing to him at times. But a lot of these pass balls or wild pitches, he just seems completely caught off guard. So Zach Collins is terrible defensively. And if I'm your Mercedes, and I think I'm better than Zach Collins defensively, maybe there's a conversation to be had about that. Sebi Zavala, I think, is better defensively, but poor Sebi, he can't hit.
Yeah.
So the catching situation right now for the White Sox without Yasmani Grandal is not good. And if Yerman's looking at the catching situation in Chicago and telling himself, hey, I'm better than both of these guys defensively, yes, I think he's better than Sebi offensively, but I'm not exactly sure if he is better than both of them defensively from the little that I've seen Mercedes catch as far as watching the streams. And if you're mentioning that he's already got 7 pass balls in 9 games, the problem is he's such a big dude and he's so stout behind home plate. He just doesn't move well laterally at all. And I can. And that's what caused a lot of pass balls when I watched him. And you can't have that in the major leagues. And I say that, and we're seeing it now with Zach Collins.
So I think with Collins, like the tricky thing with him is like his package as his skills package as a catcher, like left-handed bat with occasional power, can draw a walk, can catch a game. Pitchers don't mind throwing to him. That's like a perfectly adequate backup catcher profile, especially when you have the starting catcher like Yasmani Grandal. Like Collins is fine. He's proven himself to be fine when you have as a number 2 catcher behind a good number 1.
Sure.
That's a career there. That's good. But when you have the number 1 catcher out, it's a number 1 catching profile that's been phased out of the game, like being that rough as a receiver, being rough as a blocker, being the okay game caller and having a bat. Like we've talked about Ryan Domit, and I think Domit was way worse than Collins has improved to a level that just makes him, one of the worst catchers, but just the worst catcher now is better than the worst catcher 10 years ago. But still, just when you have that kind of profile stretched out to a number 1, you can't bring in a Yermin Mercedes behind him and have like a worse blocker and maybe a worse receiver and not a great game caller. You need somebody who can provide some relief to a pitcher who needs help grabbing strikes or needs help with pitches in the dirt. And that's, I think, why Mercedes is backing up the wrong guy. Like, say if the number 2 catcher was like a Martin Maldonado, and then Martin Maldonado gets bumped up to number 1 duties, and then Mercedes can slap behind a Martin Maldonado because you're not expecting any defensive improvement there. You don't need the defensive improvement. You just need like maybe you appreciate the right-handed bat against a certain pitcher and think he can run into one. But with Collins there and being as flawed as defensively, you can't really add another catcher. So it's an unfortunate fit for Mercedes, just because if Collins were the one that got hurt and Grandal is there, then I could see Mercedes being called up because Grandal can catch 4 games in a series if need be. Mercedes can catch the guy that they think is perhaps maybe a Dallas Keuchel won't have the more pitches are going to be made are going to have contact on them and won't get to Mercedes than with other pitchers. So that's, I think, what might be frustrating. Adding to his frustration here is that Zavala is not good. Collins is not good in one respect, but the way they pair, Mercedes just doesn't fit in.
And we have in the comment section the Yerman supporters, the Yerman stands, maybe not appreciate taking shots at Mercedes because it is a shock to perform so well in April, to be rookie of the month in the American League, and then a couple months later you are sent down. But this happens all the time, and it's going to happen to Gavin Sheets, and it's going to happen to Jake Berger very soon. And these guys are hitting as well. And if they react the same way that your Mercedes is reacting, I'm going to call them melodramatic as well, because they don't have a firm grasp on the situation on hand, on where their talent level is today in comparison to the talent level the White Sox have within their championship core. And for Mercedes, the dude doesn't hit velocity. He has a fundamentally flawed load in the lower half of his swing. He is too big of a dude to have that high of a leg kick, and it slows everything down. It creates these majestic home runs, and it's great if you're playing 16-inch softball. But if you got someone like Dylan Cease on the mound who's pumping 97, 98, he doesn't have a prayer. And we saw that routinely in the month of May and in June before he got sent down. And if he's working on those things, great. But from what I'm seeing in Charlotte, while watching as far as their games because Eloy Jimenez is playing. He's not making that adjustment. So I don't know what Yermin Mercedes is doing to make himself better to get called up. But if this is the way that he's reacting right now because he's frustrated about his situation, that's why I'm in the party of then fine. Find him a new team before July 30th and everybody goes on their separate ways. Thank you, Yermin, for the month of April. If we win the World Series, we'll mail you your World Series ring. And honestly, this is a lot of chatter about a player in AAA that's not going to provide that much impact out of the current roster of the Charlotte Knights right now. We probably should be talking about Eloy's coming back soon, and he's going to be here during the Kansas City series, just a few more games, and that's super exciting. But no, because Yermin was so popular in the month of April and so many White Sox fans attached to him, he's a folk hero, that this is why it's a story. And he's not the only AAA player that's pissed right now to be playing at that level. And he won't be the last, as Gavin Sheets and Jake Berger are going to be joining him as soon as Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert are healthy. All right. So let's move on from that topic, and let's talk about this upcoming weekend, where all of the attention, in my opinion, should be for the Chicago White Sox as they head up to Milwaukee. Milwaukee's a very festive place right now as the Milwaukee Bucks won the NBA Finals in 6 games over the Phoenix Suns. Fun fact, so they had this watch party set up outside of the arena gym. Mm-hmm. And this is going to sound really odd for those that live in Chicago or in Illinois, but 65,000 Bucks fans went to this watch party. That watch party would be a top 10 population city in the state of Wisconsin. So if you're above like 60,000 in population, you're in the top 10 for most populated city in the state of Wisconsin. So that watch party was in the top 10 of the most populous area in the state of Wisconsin.
It would be number 19 in Illinois.
Yeah. Just a bit of a difference between Wisconsin and Illinois. But it's a very festive time. Fans in Milwaukee are super pumped. They should be. The Bucks won the NBA Finals, and the Milwaukee Brewers are also a very good team. And I want to start with this because it's the big event. Sox Machine, alongside with our friends from the 108, are co-hosting a tailgate on Saturday, July 24th, and we finally got more details for the event. I have created a post on SoxMachine.com that has the details of the event. I'm also posting it on Twitter as well, so if you follow us on Twitter at SoxMachine and at SoxMachine_Josh, you'll be able to get the information. But the parking lot's going to open at 3 o'clock. We are aiming for the Robin Yount parking lot. The Yount parking lot. That's what we're aiming for. So when you're going to American Family Field, aka Miller Park, you are aiming for the Yount parking lot. If you want to buy your parking pass early, it's $13 plus the $2 Ticketmaster fee, so it's $15 online. If you pay when you drive up to the gate, it's $20. We'll be there and have things set up. We'll be in the designated tailgate grids. We got 2 tailgate grids, which I'm told can hold up to 100 plus people. And based on the Google form and the amount of tweets that I'm getting and the emails, we could have around 150 White Sox fans showing up to the tailgate. So it's going to be one heck of a party. Goose Island hooked up our friends from the 108 as far as providing beer at the event. We've had some awesome volunteers who are going to be bringing some grills, and they got a bunch of Polish sausages and hot dogs that we're going to be grilling up. It's going to be a lot of fun. So if you are going to the Saturday Milwaukee Brewers and Chicago White Sox game at American Family Field, stop by and say hi, because I will be there, and so will Jim. Jim is going to be coming to Milwaukee.
Yeah, Josh will be picking me up from the airport.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm super excited. I'm super excited. So thank you for everyone that's gotten the vaccine to make this happen. I know that's a very popular topic right now in sports Twitter.
In Tennessee, but
everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's great that we're able to do this. So it's going to be very exciting. So again, if you already had plans of going to the game and you didn't know about the tailgate, stop by. You can see Jim and I, and it'll be a ton of fun. And also, thank you to our friend Beefloaf in the YouTube comments reminding me we have new koozies, and it just so happens that I had one until Kim cleaned our office area, and now I have none by me to show off. But yes, we have. I know. Come on. Yes, we do have new koozies that we will be giving out. Special edition koozies for that event. So if you do stop by, you can definitely pick up yourself a special edition koozie from Sox Machine and from the 108. So we're really excited. So a big party on Saturday. And this series is just going to be one big party for those that are Milwaukee Brewers fans, those are Chicago White Sox fans. And I think a lot of people around the league should also be paying attention to this series, Jim, because I think this is the marquee series of the weekend, especially when you look at the pitching probables. I mentioned at the intro of this show, but Friday you got Freddie Peralta against Lucas Giolito. Peralta was an all-star, and he pitched really well for the National League during that all-star game. And Lucas Giolito is a former all-star himself. Saturday, you got Corbin Burns against Carlos Rodon, and then you got Brendan Woodruff against Lance Lynn on Sunday for ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. And when I look at these pitching probables, the first question I ask is, how are these teams going to score? Because I'm expecting some really low scoring games, especially the marquee of starting pitching we're seeing in this series.
Yeah, it's nuts. Like, I'm looking at that Saturday matchup, and I'm really looking forward, well, one, to seeing a White Sox game. I haven't seen one since 2019, so this will be my first time back. Still haven't made it back to Sox Park yet, but at least it'll be the White Sox in person somewhere. But yeah, when you see that pitching matchup between Rodon and Burns, and just seeing that Rodon is technically the superior pitcher because his ERA is 2.14 versus Burns is 2.16 because they both have 140 strikeouts. Yes, you can't separate them by that. Just I'm looking forward to seeing Rodon in person. I'm looking forward to the. It should be fun. I don't think I've ever been in a road park where there should be that many White Sox fans. Like, I've been to some stadiums where, like, I would say DC has a number of transplants, so I saw a fair amount of people there. I've been to Tampa. In Tampa, we'll sell, but I mean, Tampa's so sparsely, filled, regardless of who's playing, and the dome makes everything sound distant, so it mutes the atmosphere regardless. But when it comes to like a visiting park that isn't like Wrigley Field, because I've seen an interleague, a crosstown game in Wrigley, like I haven't seen like a visiting park where there should be a healthy contingent of White Sox fans reacting to what Carlos Rodon is doing, the way that, and I've been jealous watching people in the stands at Sox games reacting to what Carlos Rodon is doing and what Lance Lynn is doing, and kind of seeing them feed off the crowd. So I'm really curious. I mean, we'll be among White Sox fans. I'll be sitting in the 108s with 108ers and such, but even people who are not in our tailgate, I mean, I imagine there'll still be a healthy contingent of Sox fans there to be, lots of spontaneous, joyful reactions for what the White Sox do in a park that is not their own.
Yeah, let's just not act like Cubs fans, though, because Cubs fans call American Family Field and Miller Park, if you still want to use the old name, Wrigley North.
Yeah,
I always roll my eyes at it. They don't own that stadium. And I think Brewers fans, especially season ticket holders, see a money-making opportunity to really price up their tickets for all the Cubs fans to buy them on StubHub. But no, this should be it should be fun, because from a White Sox and Brewers fan base perspective, even though when we were growing up, Jim, heated rivals.
Yeah, that was
heated
fun.
rivals. Now it's like we're friends. We need the Brewers to beat up on the Minnesota Twins, and the Brewers need the White Sox to beat up on the Chicago Cubs. And I often, if I'm not a really big believer like having a second team to root for, but I don't mind rooting for Milwaukee. They always seem to be an underdog. It is a fantastic fan base, especially when the Brewers are playing well. I like the way that they have built their team instead of going a full rebuild, full teardown. They are finding ways to get these pieces on 2-year, 3-year contracts. They do a phenomenal job developing pitchers. And they may have made the most impactful trade so far this season in getting Willy Adames at shortstop, who has just been playing terrific baseball ever since he's put on a Brewers uniform. This is going to be an incredibly fun series. And I'm going to be really excited to be there in the stands on Saturday. So let's break this down from a perspective on the White Sox. How do you think the White Sox will win this series against Milwaukee? What are going to be the keys for the White Sox to be successful, Jim?
I think getting the game to the 7th inning with the starters. I think that's going to be the tricky part, the National League aspect of the series, wondering if, should there be a runner on second and 2 outs and Lucas Giolito comes to the plate and, if the White Sox are leading, like say 2-1, and you could really use that run, but you could also really use Giolito going extra inning. What's La Russa going to do? Is he going to trust a reliever who isn't Michael Kopech and or Garrett Crochet before then? Like that's going to be the tension, I think. So if the, White Sox can avoid the 5th, 6th, maybe 7th, like we at least try to get the starting pitcher to start the 7th. I think that would be ideal just because as we saw in the Minnesota series, it's just dicey right now. Anybody before Michael Kopech, and even Kopech had a rough, kind of a shaky outing his last time out. That's, I think, going to be the trickiest part. The other thing, too, is good right-handed pitchers against this lineup. And this is a good showcase for Gavin Sheets to be in the lineup and showcase his ability to play an outfield in a National League park and perhaps offer some power or some good contact against right-handed pitching. Also, I wonder, if this is a case where they could use a bat like him, maybe it raises his trade stock, but will it also inspire the White Sox to keep him if they could really use that left-handed bat that can make contact against good right-handed pitching? So I think he is a fascinating individual player to watch as well in the series.
Yeah, he's going to have to play right field some games because the White Sox will need his bat. They'll need Brian Goodwin's bat, whether in left or in center field. Adam Engel's been playing back-to-back days since coming off the injured list. So that's been good to see. But, offensively, this really surprised me when I was just breaking down as far as numbers. Because if you want to look at wins above replacement for starting pitching staffs, the White Sox are number 1 in baseball. The Milwaukee Brewers are number 2. So that's just, It just adds fuel to this marquee matchup. But the Chicago White Sox, this surprised me, Jim. In the month of July, through July 22nd, according to Fangraphs.com, the Chicago White Sox lead the majors in weighted runs created plus in the month of July. White Sox hitters are a combined 135 weighted runs created plus. They are performing 35% better than league average. This has been their most productive month offensively in the 2021 season, and you wrote about one reason why and Yoan Moncada making far better contact, and now he's hitting for power, which bless up. We've been waiting for that from Moncada, but Jose Abreu, Jim, is heating up. And I know I've talked a lot about Abreu. He must know that August is coming because we know that when the calendar flips to August, Abreu becomes Zeus and he comes down from the heavens and slays all pitchers like mortals. His numbers in August are insanely stupid good. And with those two performing the way that they have been hitting lately, and then you add in Tim Anderson, who has been red hot at the leadoff spot, yeah, it does make sense that the White Sox have the most productive offense right now in Major League Baseball in the month of July. Do you think, or do you have confidence? I know that it's all right-handed pitching for Milwaukee, but do you think that these White Sox hitters, the way they have been performing lately, have a better shot?
I think it's a good test. I think this will prove, I think Moncada is, knock on wood, he's back. I think he's back in his current form. It's just a matter of what gets in the way of that form, whether any of the soreness he had in his shoulder can flare up again or whether that's something behind him. But the bat speed is back. The contact is loud, triple digits exit velocity on a regular basis. So I'm convinced he's back as long as his body lets him be. But that's, yeah, as far as we can tell, like, I'm optimistic. Tim Anderson goes hot and cold, but at least, when he's hot, right-handed, left-handed doesn't make a huge difference. I mean, he can crush lefties, but he can also, get singles against righties. Maybe he doesn't hit righties for power, but he gets on base. And then Abreu just, he can belt, the ball out to right field. You can just take what righties are giving him, pitch him off the plate, go with it. So those three are fine. I think it's, kind of Jake Berger is somebody who supplemented the offense in a very helpful way. Gavin Sheets has. Berger's strikeout rate is above 30% right now. I'm kind of waiting for the wheels to fall off there a little bit, which is, completely understandable. Like, it's not a criticism of him, given the layoff he had. But just, it's a case where, you're going to have, like, that's a post I have in mind. Is I'm tipping my hand here, but just like the sequence that the White Sox have had to kind of like bring this full circle, like going from Mercedes to Brian Goodwin to Adam Engel coming back to Gavin Sheets to Jake Berger, like all these guys kind of popping up just as like one's getting knocked down, another one pops up to just provide above average offense for like 3 weeks. And that's all you've needed because when 3 weeks passes, another guy is back up or comes back. So with Eloy Jimenez waiting in the wings to come back, just trying to get his timing all the way back in Charlotte, like pretty much, if Jake Berger, if this is like his last, good weekend with the White Sox this year, he'll have served a very valuable purpose. And it's really cool to see the way, after watching for years, White Sox rookies come in and immediately get exposed for their lack of plate discipline and not have the hit tool to compensate. Like, to have all these rookies coming up and providing immediately, even if there are some uncomfortable moments afterwards when disappointment sets in that they have to negotiate, at least, they at least prove that they can hang, and at least gives them confidence when they come back up that they have done it versus, I'm thinking of like the, Marcus Semien, Josh Fegley, just like the random guys from previous rebuilds who came up and just struggled for months, if not, in the case of like Avi Garcia, years before it finally clicked. Like having at least the immediate idea of how it's supposed to work and then hopefully fine-tuning it from there.
So before we sign off here, and for those that are watching on a live stream, again, our friends from the 108, they're going to start live streaming around 8:30 p.m. Central Time. So definitely check out as far as their episode. I'm sure they have more thoughts about Milwaukee coming up as far as this weekend. And yeah, always a great show. So again, at 8:30 p.m. Central Time, we're part of this White Sox Twitter must-see Thursdays. They're going to be next after this episode of Sox Machine Live. But before we sign off, the White Sox had the day off. I'm sure Rick Hahn did not have the day off. And there's still time to make a roster move. So let's, I guess, use our imagination. If there is a roster move tomorrow to prep the White Sox for the series, what do you envision that one roster move could be?
I really, Eloy could theoretically come back, but I don't think he really helps in a National League park right now.
That was the one that I thought of, to be honest, Jim, was... Surprise, Eloy Jimenez is back with the White Sox.
It's possible. Like, let me see. Is he in the lineup tonight? Because that would kind of tip it off, I think.
Even if he is, though, I still think they would have played him because he could just hop on a flight to Milwaukee from Charlotte, maybe even in the morning.
True, but usually they tip their hand with the travel day the day before. And Jimenez is in the lineup. He's 1 for 3 with a double and a strikeout thus far. So that would surprise me if he came back for the series. So I think it's more or less as is right now, unless they pull a trade, which, was we've been talking about for a reliever.
Yeah. These, you mentioned it. Can the White Sox starters get into the 7th inning? The 6th and 7th inning in these games for the White Sox and Brewers is going to be the danger zone. Because Milwaukee, they've got 2 awesome relievers, Devin Williams and Josh Hader. And the White Sox have 2 awesome relievers, and Michael Kopech and Liam Hendricks. But getting to those guys sometimes is a bit shaky for both teams. And we'll see in how the 6th and 7th innings are played in this series. And hopefully on Monday Sox Machine podcast after the ESPN Sunday Night Baseball broadcast, we're talking about another White Sox series win. But this is going to be a very fun series to watch, and I'm hopeful that the White Sox can win this series. If they don't, I'll just chalk it up as it's a tough road series against a quality opponent in Milwaukee. Just stacked right-handed starting pitching. The White Sox haven't made a significant trade yet. They're still not at full power. There's nothing to fret about, as the White Sox will go from Milwaukee, fly to Kansas City, and in the middle of that Kansas City series, Eloy's 20 days will be up for his rehab. So if he's not going to be with the White Sox during the Brewers series, he is most definitely going to be showing up next week in Kansas City, at least by the Wednesday game halfway through the series. His 20 days is up, which means that the following weekend, with Cleveland coming to visit the South Side, that would be Eloy Jimenez's first home weekend series of the 2021 season, right at the end of the month of July. And that is going to be a very festive crowd, and it'll be another festive weekend, I assume. Over 100,000 fans for those 3 games between the White Sox and Cleveland, which is very excited. It's a very exciting time to be a White Sox fan. So I appreciate everyone watching this live stream of Sox Machine Live. Thank you guys so much for doing so. If you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, go to youtube.com/Sox Machine and subscribe. That way you get alerts on when the new episodes of Sox Machine Live are coming up. And if you already subscribed to our YouTube channel, thank you so much. For those listening to the audio, as far as this podcast, you can subscribe to the Sox Machine podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you enjoy our work and want more, go to patreon.com/Sox Machine, where our Patreon supporters get exclusive content. They get ad-free versions of the podcast and website, and they get a first opportunity as well for our Sox Machine swag, in which we just ended our pre-order, right, Jim, as far as the Sox Machine caps? Okay.
Yep, the caps are in production.
All right, excellent. Excellent. So again, if you enjoy our work and want more, go to patreon.com/Sox Machine and sign up today. Sox Machine Live is a production of SoxMachine.com, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network, and your home for all things Chicago White Sox baseball. Alongside Jim Margulis, I'm Josh Nelson. We hope to see you Saturday in Milwaukee at American Family Park, aka Miller Park, for the big Sox Machine and From the 108 tailgate. And if we do not see you on Saturday, we'll chat with you guys on a new episode of the Sox Machine podcast on Monday. Thank you for watching, and thank you for listening.